Hi dreamers, it's Martina Kotzian here, dream therapist and founder of dream platform dreamcubator.co. And today I'll be talking about nightmares, specifically what happens when we explore nightmares in a dream therapy session. I'll be using one of my own personal nightmares as an example, which really helps to illustrate just how dream work can help create that shift from that abject fear and terror that we have towards our nightmares to something more significant and profound. But before I get started, I wanted to note just how common and normal nightmares are as dream experiences. Research actually shows that 50% of us will experience nightmares every few weeks. And studies have also shown that simply by engaging with our nightmares, whether that's through dream therapy, simply retelling or recording your dream, can significantly help to reduce the intensity and also the frequency of our nightmares. So back to my dream. I like to call this nightmare Creature from the Deep. And it was a nightmare that only lasted about 5 to 10 seconds, but that terror and horror that came with the dream haunted me for a few days. And it was also the symbology that was within the dream that really interested me, because I could really draw associations and parallels to my waking life at the time. So the dream took place in the depths of the ocean. I found myself on the seabed floor, and in front of me was this gigantic metal cage that was kind of latticed with bars that crisscrossed around the cage. And within the cage was this monstrous prawn. It was really in absolute distress. It was flailing around, its appendages were waving all over the place, and its feelers and beady eyes were just completely desperate to free itself from this cage. And I thought I heard this shrieking, and I'm not sure whether it came from the prawn itself or whether it was an internal shriek of horror that I experienced. And on awakening, I couldn't shake this dream. As I mentioned, it haunted me for a couple of days, and just this flashback, I would get these flashbacks of this gigantic prawn head, and it would just give me the absolute horrors. So I took this dream to my colleagues for a dream therapy session, and we started off by exploring the dream from my perspective. So we were really able to sense into the fear and the horror that were there as I looked on at this prawn and the distress it was experiencing. And by really allowing those sensations of fear and horror to be there, I also noticed that I could feel the pressure of the ocean, or the weight of the ocean bearing down on me, which was also quite a prominent feeling in my life at the time. But we don't want to be in our own perspective for too long, because the faster that we can actually transit into the nightmare presence, in my case the giant prawn, the less time we have to be in the horror, and we can actually start exploring from the dream's perspective, which gives us the opportunity to explore the unknown. I also want to quote Tsung, who says that in some way or other, one can protect oneself from evil spirits by portraying them. Not to say that my prawn was evil, but it was definitely more interesting to explore the dream from the perspective of the prawn. Because as I identified with the prawn and really started to observe its characteristics and its experience in the dream, I could really sense into its desperation and that real sort of struggle to free itself. And there was a real frustration in the experience of the prawn as well. In the body of the prawn, I could really sense how frustrated it was to free itself. And as I was feeling into the frustration and the that sheer desperation of the prawn to get out, I also felt something really unexpected. There was something going on in the tail of the prawn. I could really sense that it was coming loose. And then I realized that the prawn was actually moulting. And that was a real revelation to me, so completely different to those feelings of frustration that was not unusual to me at the time. So this sensation of moulting actually felt quite delicious in a way. It was very liberating, and there was just a sense of that casting off worn layers that made me realize that there was a level of growth in this dream as well. And just feeling into that tail also made me realize that it wasn't the prawn itself that was stuck in the cage. It was the shell of the tail that was stuck. And by eventually growing out of its shell, it would naturally free itself from the cage. And that was really encouraging for me, because there was a real sense of hope and growth within the dream, within the prawn. And by embodying the prawn, I felt like I had entered an abaton, or what the Greeks call an inaccessible place. Because had I explored the dream from a one-dimensional perspective, so simply by looking at the themes and the symbology of the dream, I never would have gained that intelligence of the creature's moulting and the hope and growth that was there. And actually, well-known psychologist Robbie Bosnack would say that dreaming actually makes the inaccessible accessible. So I found that dream work quite enlightening, and I hope you guys did too. I also thought it was such a beautiful example of how in-depth exploration of a dream can really help us to tap into the intelligence that's present within the dream as well. On a more serious note, if you are experiencing ongoing or PTSD nightmares at least multiple times a week, please do seek help. Unfortunately, research has shown that ongoing nightmares have been significantly linked to suicide. If you did want to share your nightmares or any other dream, please do post on dreamcubator.co and I'll provide comments. If you think you could benefit from a dream therapy session, please get in touch. I will leave link to my contact details below. Or if you'd like to learn more about dream therapy, or embodied imagination therapy as it's called, I'll also leave a link to the Embodied Imagination Institute. Thanks dreamers, and I'll see you in the next video.